Well, hello, everybody.
Yes, hello and welcome. We are calling in tonight from Haarlem in the Netherlands, where we live. We've been living here for about a year and a half because of our daughters being in university in the Netherlands as well. So we moved here to follow our children, our adult children. One is 19 and the other is 21. This is part of the way we approach life. We want to be near our loved ones always. And, some families live someplace and they stay there all the time. Our family is one that moves around, and we've done that a lot. And we're going to talk a little bit about today about what makes us unique in couples and how the uniqueness of your couple, your marriage, can sustain you for many, many years in the same relationship. But first, Alex, how long have we been together?
Oh, shit. 29 years.
29 years, not yet, quite yet. When?
December 18th, when we first met.
So we met on December 18th, 29 years ago. I know we don't look like we could be a day older than 30, but I promise you we were grown up by then. And we've been married for 22 years. In that time, we've never had a separation. We've never talked about divorce. We've driven each other crazy many times, but it's actually been a wonderful, wonderful partnership. Not only have we been married and together for many years, for 27 years, we've actually had businesses together. And we have built seven-figure businesses and been very successful with a number of different businesses in life. And so we've used our relationship in ways that are different than many people, I think, in that we've worked together and we live together and we've raised children together. Now, there are some tricks to that. There are some secrets. And today we are going to reveal three very important secrets. I'll tell you what they are right now. One is that you're going in the same direction. That's the first secret. We'll talk about that. Two is that you can see each other in all of your parts and all the different aspects of who you are versus seeing each other as a fixed thing, a solid or fixed thing. And three, how to take joy from the daily activities of life together. Alex will focus on the last one. I'll start with the first one. The first one is a very important piece. This is how do we generate and build a future together that's a long-lasting future, and why that future, or having a future together, makes for a long-lasting relationship. I'll tell you the most important thing when you're with somebody is that you see the future the same. Now, what does that mean? Seeing the future the same means, in terms of where you're going, that you're looking at the same destination, that you're thinking about the same future. Now, if you have a partner and you're thinking about different futures, it's very difficult to manage life together. And if you're really going in different directions, it's clear at some point somebody's going to want to no longer be in the relationship, that the relationship will fail. Now, now I've kind of given you the idea about this, that you're going in the same direction or you have the same future. Let me give you a little example of this from Alex and I's life, talking about what our idea of the future is. We in the 2000s, we had an advertising agency in the San Francisco Bay Area that was very, very successful. We did television commercials for all of the top high-tech companies, HP, Microsoft, and companies like this, doing their products and product launches. And we were very financially successful. We built a beautiful house in Mill Valley, out in the mountains outside of San Francisco. And by everybody's interpretation, we had a great life. We had a great marriage. We just had some children. Our first child was born, and Alex was pregnant with our second child. And in this particular period of time, the high-tech industry went through a contraction. I don't know if anybody remembers this. In the early 2000s, we had the dot-com crash, or the dot-com bomb. And in this period of time, many of the the companies in the Bay Area shut down or downsized, which meant that our business was impacted. And our business was not impacted that we didn't have enough work. Our business was impacted in that the kind of work that we were doing was no longer fun. We went out on one night on a date, and I think it was one of our first dates after having our first child. We went in and saw the second Matrix movie. Now you remember the Matrix movie where everybody's plugged into a computer. We went and watched the movie. It was very good and had a great time. But when we came out, I felt depressed, and Alex noticed that. Noticed I was feeling off and said, "What's the matter?" And I said, "Well, I'm stuck making bad commercials about acne medication, and those guys get to make an amazing movie. And that's what I would rather be doing with my life, making movies or really making something interesting. I didn't really sign up to do television commercials about products that I don't care about." It was one of the first times that I began to understand that just being successful was different than having a career or a life that was filled with purpose, that I knew that I was going in the right direction. So we had a babysitter, and we called, and Lola Sky, our 1-year-old at that point, was asleep. So we went for a walk, and we started to talk. And Alex, you were about 6 months pregnant, I think. Seven months pregnant. So a couple months away from having a baby. And her husband was saying he was unhappy with his work, basically. And at this time, Alex was also not working in the business, he's staying home a lot with the first baby, Lola. So the way I tell the story, Alex, you can tell me if I'm, is that I always say that at that point, my pregnant wife should have said, "Michael Sean, I don't care what your job is. You are going to stay at work and make money for the next couple of years until we get these babies up, after being a baby. And then you can talk to me about wanting to do something different or what you want in your life." But you didn't say that. No. Instead, you said,
"Okay, what do you want to do?"
She said that. What is okay? So you don't want to do the work you're doing. What do you want to do? Which was a crazy thing. We just built this big house. We had mortgages and employees. And I said, "Well, I want to stop doing these television commercials." And so we talked. We went for a walk, and then we drove the car to a place where you could see the Golden Gate Bridge. And we talked and we talked and we talked. And what was clear is that both of us cared more about the quality of our life than about making money. That we cared about what we were doing with our time more than we cared about having a successful business or a big house in Sausalito. Understood that we could find ways to make money that were different, and that we could have other houses, that house wasn't unique. So by the end of that night, we made a decision that we would move to Italy. This is the first time we moved to Europe. Alex is of Italian descent. She wanted to learn to speak the language, and we wanted our kids to learn about their heritage in Italy. So we decided that night we would move to, actually we decided that night that moving to Italy would be a plan B. If work didn't get better within 2 months, like we didn't get better and more exciting jobs, that we would move to Italy and downsize our company. Within a few days, plan B became plan A, and that's what we did. We went and lived in Italy for 5 years, traveled the world for many years, and had great adventures. So what's the lesson here? The lesson is when we look at the difficulties in life that we both have a similar view. If she had the view of, "No, I don't want to travel," or "No, I don't want to go do something new," or "I don't like change. I want things to stay the same," or "I want you to really invest in your business," all of which are really valid and really good things to do. They're not wrong. But if she had that opinion and I'd had a different opinion, then we would be looking forward into 2 different futures. And that becomes very challenging. Now, what you can do about this, maybe you don't know with your partner if you're looking at the same future, or maybe you and your husband or wife, or maybe your boyfriend have come to a point in life where you've begun to talk about making a change, and it's a difficult conversation. What you need to do is go get some quiet time together, like we did. We went for a walk first, and then we sat in our car overlooking the Golden Gate Bridge. Go get some time. And I'm talking about just an hour, but schedule a number of hours over a course of a couple of weeks, and invent a future together. Dream up a future.
Yeah.
Alex, what are some of the things that were important to you in that future when we started talking about what we could do elsewise other than having this business?
You mean when we decided to move to Italy? I think that what really became apparent to us was that we didn't really care about having a big house and a lot of material things. And what was important to me was really just that we had a good quality of life and that we could raise our children in a really beautiful environment and spend more time with the children. I didn't want to be, I mean, I've been very much an executive in business in the entertainment industry, and what was very normal for people in my industry is that they leave very early in the morning and come back very late at night, and they only get to see their children for a few hours, maybe not even more than an hour before their children have to go to bed. And I didn't want that. I wanted my children to grow up with having me around all the time. And that was why I pulled out of the business to raise the children. And so when people would ask me, well, what do you do? I would say, I work for the little people. So it was really important to have time with them. And so we made a choice from, instead of going into an office every day, that we would work from home. That was a big decision that we made. And it's been the best thing we ever did. So that even when our children began to go to school, when they came home, we were always there for them. So that was really a big thing, I think.
Yes, certainly. And so you see, having a future that's you're pointing in the same direction is very important. And some of the things, if you're looking at how you would know, let's say you've just started a relationship with somebody new, how would you know that you're maybe going into the same future? Well, first of all, you talk about it. The second thing is you need to examine your shared values. What do you care? So Alex said that our value is that we valued more time with our children than working at an office and making money. And that turned out to be the way we conducted it after that point. Our business is always as an at-home business for the next, now it's been 20 plus years we've had that business working from our home so we could be with our kids, and now with our dogs, as we don't have kids anymore, but it all works out. So what are the values? And I don't just mean values like honesty is a value, but what are the things that we care about? What is important to us? And some things in relationships you can grow together. You can begin to have a value about something together and declare something important to each other. But also there are sometimes things that come from your childhood or your culture that are very important. And it's good to talk about these things in your relationship. If you have a new relationship, it's a great thing to talk about. What do you care about? How do you celebrate holidays? What's really important to you in your life to be happy? And if they're the same in many ways, it makes for an easier time being together. When one person has to sacrifice in a relationship, it makes it a difficult relationship to have a long-term one. Not a bad relationship, but a long-term one becomes challenging. So number one, you need to have a future together. You need to be heading in the same direction. Now we're going to talk about another one that one maybe you get, it's really clear. The second one we're going to talk about is in some ways for many people, the first time you've ever heard the conversation I'm about to have. And it's a way of looking at who we are as people that's a little bit different. Normally, when I talk about me, I think about a fixed, permanent thing. I am Michael Sean Conaway. I am the generative futurist. I am a thought leader, a spiritual teacher, and this is who I am. It's this fixed thing. And then people see me and they kind of see me as this fixed thing. But really what I am is a mix of a lot of different things. I'm a product of my culture. I grew up in New Mexico and Albuquerque and Santa Fe. So I have many patterns and ideas that come from my childhood, my upbringing. Still today, we make red chili sauce and have breakfast burritos every day because of my patterns of being from New Mexico. Alex grew up in England. She has patterns from being English. So today we drink milk tea in the morning. We drink tea, the English style, every morning. So there are patterns that come from our upbringing, our cultures. There are patterns that come from our language. I'm speaking English right now, although you're hearing in Spanish. And there are things about who I am that come just from language. I didn't invent it. I didn't make them up. They're part of language. In aggregate, there's a lot of things going on inside of us. So one day we feel sad, one day we feel happy, one day we like doing something, and the next day we don't seem to like it anymore, and or we like one television program and then we like different kind of things. And if you think of your whole life, you're changing all the time. So the way we talk about this is that we have many different patterns, mental and emotional patterns in ourselves. And sometimes it helps to think of this as a collection of things versus one person. So we have an example that came up for us a number of weeks back that we think is a really good example of what happens in couples. So my wife had gone to the Netherlands. We were in Italy. She'd come here to look at the house that we're in. We just moved into this house, so we're just settling in. But she came here in, was it October? To see if to look at the house. It went up on the market, and here in the Netherlands, you have to move very fast and get to an appointment to see the house. They only let 5 or 10 people see it, and then one of those people get it. So she flew up while I stayed in Italy and looked at the house, had a great time. And then she was flying back. And when she was flying back, I was doing a bunch of work. I was working at my computer, and she landed and texted me that she had landed. And I sat up and went, oh my goodness, I should have left the house 30 minutes ago to go pick her up. I'm going to be late. So I texted on. I got caught up in work. I'm going to leave right now to come get you. You might say strike number one. So I went and got her. We got some food. We came home. It got late. I was getting tired, kind of finishing some things up around the house. And we went to go to bed, and we got into bed. And one of the patterns that I have is a pattern of picking up my phone at the end of the night and just reading through some news or reading something that somebody sent me, nothing work-like, but just reading, and that unwinds me and relaxes. And I find when I'm reading things, suddenly I'll get really sleepy and tired and want to go to sleep. So I got into bed and I picked up my phone, and Alex thought
he'd rather be with this phone than with me.
I'd rather be with my phone than be with her.
And we hadn't seen each other. I mean, it was just a few days, but I was like, wait a minute.
She wanted to see her husband, and here her husband is in bed on the phone instead of paying attention to her. And then what did you?
My first reaction, I felt upset, but I didn't say anything. And then I kind of turned it over to go to sleep instead of saying something.
Yeah. And what were you feeling?
Unhappy.
Unhappy? What did you want?
More connection with you.
And but you didn't say anything.
I didn't say anything.
So here we are in bed. I'm on the phone, and she's feeling like, oh, he doesn't love me. I'm not as important as his phone, right? And that's the way most of us experience each other in our partnerships. And I might have thought, and I can't remember what I thought, but she rolled over. She's irritated about something. Why won't she tell me if she's irritated about it? And, oh, whatever. I'll just read and go to bed when it's time to go to bed. So that's what we do. We interact with each other like the thing that my partner is doing, they're conscious of and well aware of what's going on. So we kind of went to bed and the feeling wasn't fantastic. And really, I want you guys to notice that we missed an opportunity to be together. There was a moment when I got home, she got home, and we got home that we could have just been together, spent some time talking, enjoyed each other's company. And because I was on my phone and because she was unable to say, hey, get off your phone and be with me, we missed an opportunity to be together. If this happens over and over and over again, this causes a lot of stress and strain on the relationship, and especially the stories we make up about each other. Oh, she's mad about something again. Oh, he doesn't love me as much as he likes his phone. Fortunately, we've got a lot of practice at this and a lot of distinction. So we woke up the next morning and we did an exercise we'd like to suggest to you guys. And that is to go through something that happened and didn't happen the way you wanted it to, and think about what patterns were going on. So in the morning, I said, Alex, I noticed that we were unable to connect. I was very tired. And I noticed that I had a pattern that's called look at your phone before you go to bed to relax. And I said, I got in bed and my pattern that's look at your phone to relax was stronger than the pattern of give my wife some attention. Now I have a pattern called give my wife attention. I love her very much. I want to give her some attention. And so that pattern was kind of asleep. I was tired. That pattern was asleep, and I ended up looking at my phone. And your patterns was I rolled over
I rolled over and just felt sad and went to sleep.
And
didn't reach out and connect with you.
What would happen if you had done that?
That you would have acknowledged that I wanted some attention, and then we would have been in communication.
So you get how simple that was? If she just pushed my phone down and said, "Hi, I'm your wife. Would you like to chat with me for a minute?" I would have said, "Oh, certainly." And I was my phone aside, right? But because you were stuck in what would you say that pattern is? You don't love me, or this is no good, or I don't like what's going on. What would you say that pattern is?
It's just more that you care more about your phone than you do me. And I know that's not true.
Right.
It's just, I was feeling that in the moment.
Yeah. So in the morning, we were able to distinguish that there were these patterns happening. So it wasn't me that was reading the phone because I didn't love her. It's I had a pattern of reading the phone. And because nothing happened to interrupt that pattern, we were unable to connect. And then in the morning we spent time together. We had a lovely breakfast together. So what I would encourage you to do, the part about the second point is, instead of thinking of your spouse as a single thing and everything they do on purpose, think of them as a series of patterns, things that happen, and they happen because they happen regularly over and over and over. And our patterns can change. We can consciously evolve our patterns if we just choose to do different things. And we can help each other by recognizing the patterns. Now, the second thing to take of this is when your spouse is doing something that you don't like, the pattern that most of us get into is the pattern of being upset. So we get angry, we react strongly, maybe we say something not so nice, and that brings about this bad feeling between the two of us. So if you can interrupt those patterns, if you can find a way to say, "Hey, husband, this is your wife here. Would you put your phone down? I haven't seen you for a couple of days, and I'd like to see you." And then suddenly you're able to stop the pattern of the way things go. We call them pattern interrupts. If we can interrupt the pattern, then you can choose to have another behavior. Our lives are run by these patterns. Our brain, the neuroscience of our brain says that everything we do is pretty much run by these patterns, unless we interrupt the pattern and choose to do something different. And that requires consciousness. And so if you're practicing some kind of spiritual practice, like the things that Dr. Velasco teaches you, or the things that we try to teach you on the Boldly Now platform, if you practice these consciousness practices, then you'll have a better chance of understanding when you're stuck in a pattern. Okay, that was number 2. And Alex is going to lead us through technique number 3 for having a long-lasting relationship.
I'm actually a producer, a business development person, a coach, but I also call myself a joyologist. And this is a term that I came up with a number of years ago to really just describe or explain to people that how important it is to find joy in everything that we do, or to find those simple moments. Whether it's you're going for a walk and you see a flower blooming or the sun is shining, you just got to take a moment to just be with what is and just find beauty in what's all around us. And I think if we can appreciate the simple things in life, whether it's the smell of coffee or the taste of our food, cooking together, things like that, I think it's really important that we find joy in the simple things. It's important too to recognize when we have success in the big things as well. But if we can find joy in the simple things, I think that's really an important part of being in connection with your partner and your family.
Yeah. So joy and the simple things. How do you find joy in the simple things? So there's big things you could take in joy. It's like Alex said, like you go on a vacation, or there's a wedding, or there's a festival or a holiday, and then you have joy and pleasure. But what about the small things? And so this is something that we've taken out as a practice in our life. And I'll just share a couple that we've done in the past, and you can adopt these or you can do new ones. Now, one of the things we did a number of years ago, which was really wonderful when our kids were little, we would put them to bed. And then after they went to bed, we would make some herbal tea. We have a lovely Chinese teapot. I actually think it's back in this cabinet behind us. We have a lot of those kind of iron Chinese teapots. And you put the tea in it, and then you put hot water, and then you drink out of little cups. And we would make a small pot of tea, mint tea or something like this. And then we would sit and have hot tea together at the end of the night. And just to talk about our day, not talk about work or any problems, but just share some things that are going on and spend a moment together. Now, this is super simple. It's tea in a pot and you sit and talk. It's not like going to a wedding or going on vacation, but by doing it every day and choosing every day to have something that has a very simple quality of pleasure to it, we got a lot out of it for our life and our relationship. Likewise, we like to cook together. So we plan out food to go eat, and we go shopping together, and we actually cook together and clean together. This is something that for us is very pleasurable. Now, for you, it may be going for a walk. Maybe after dinner, you go for a walk, or in the afternoon or the morning. It's something that you can do together that's enjoyable. And you have to invest time in these things. Your relationship, especially if you have children or you have work, your relationship will come under much strain and pressure. And if you don't have these appointments with yourself, these regular times to be together and to be in love and to be sharing time together, then again, it's very difficult to have a long-lasting relationship. And I would say this practice of finding joy in the relationship is probably one of the biggest secrets that we have. That still today, and we talk about relationships. Sometimes we do coaching for couples or people who are looking to get married. And people always come to us like, wow, you've been together almost 30 years and you're still so in love. How come? Well, part of it is that we've learned to take joy from simple things. So find the simple things that you both like and make sure that you do them and do them regularly. So that's the third part of that. You have anything else to say about that, Alex?
Not so much about that, but one of the things that I felt was really important for us is we came up with this thing that we do called requirements for life. And this was really helpful for us, and it's been really helpful for a lot of our friends and clients. And that is that you spend time together talking about all the things that make your life work. And I think sometimes couples think that they have to have everything in that one relationship, but obviously, we're very different individuals and human beings. And I like to work out in the morning, get my exercise in the morning, when Michael Sean might prefer to do that in the evening. And that could be a problem for some people. But if I'm really clear that, I need to get my exercise in the morning, him at night, we make room for that and make time for that. So the requirements for life thing is just a way for you to really be clear about what each other needs in, whether it be health, fitness, the kind of food you like to eat, and the things that you like to do. And then you can actually really appreciate and make time for those things and realize that you don't have to get 100% of everything from your partner. If your partner doesn't like to drink tea or whatever it is. Heaven forbid,
you might as well divorce them at that point if you're English.
Or, you might find another friend to go do that thing with, whether it's watch a movie or something else, because then, you spend the time, you figure out what you'd like to do together and spend that time together.
Great. So now we've done 4 things. I'll name them. You have to have a future together. You have to be going the same direction. 2 is that you begin to see each other as a collection of patterns, that different things come up at different times. And if you understand the pattern somebody's in, you can interrupt it and have less conflict in your life, have more understanding and more compassion. 3 is that you take joy from simple things. You find the things that you love to do together, and you make sure you plan time to do that. Then 4, what Alex just has mentioned, is to understand what's important to you. What do you really need to have to be healthy and happy individually? And then you can begin to discuss how that works in the relationship. And I think every relationship has things that you need to have, rhythmic things that you have, times that you come together, maybe a time of the week that you go out on a date and just be romantic instead of being the parents of children or people who have jobs or all those things. Those are 4 things which I think are really critical. If you took some notes or thought about those, you can apply those to your relationships tonight. Don't wait until tomorrow. Your brain is likely to forget everything we said by morning. Apply them tonight and try some things out. What, Sam?
I have one more thing. And I think we just forgot to mention it, but I think communication is a huge one. I see so many couples struggling in this area, because what happens if they get upset by something their partner did, they go, oh, there it is again. And it happens again and again and again. And they might not say anything. And then it bottles up until they then get really angry. And then it's a huge thing. And so what we advise is that if something happens in your relationship, talk about it. If you're triggered, give it a few moments to relax and get out of that triggered state, but then talk about it right away, because then your partner will be able to really address what that thing was, and it will really behoove you in a better relationship moving forward.
Okay, so that was 3 things and 2 bonuses that Alex just gave. And I think with that, we'll actually open this up to questions from the audience. If anybody has any questions for Alex and I, we'd be happy to answer them and see if we can help in any way, either ideally like a philosophical question about relationships or
Okay, aquí hay una pregunta. When to know if that relationship is come to an end, because you have somebody was not faithful, and now they do things together, but it's not the same as before because of unfaithful situations.
Yeah, this is a very challenging topic. If this is something that's happening to you, first of all, we feel sad for you and understand how painful it can be when you have a relationship that's not going well, especially if there's somebody who's not been faithful. If this has happened, there's 2 paths that a couple can go down. One is that you can restore trust. And this is a really, really wonderful thing. And we recommend that any couple that's dealing with this at least considers what the path to restoring trust might look like. How do you begin to trust somebody who's broken your trust? Because if you can't trust them, then it likely spells the end of the relationship. So somebody has been not faithful and you're still together and you don't have trust with them, then all of these things that Alex and I spoke about, they don't work at all. There's nothing that works in a relationship when you don't have this lack of fundamental trust. It is okay to end a relationship. We're here today talking about how long we've been together and how to have a long relationship. But if your relationship has entered the waters where one person is being hurt, then it's definitely time to get some advice and get some help to get out of that relationship, especially if it's not a relationship that can recover and restore the trust, which takes quite a bit of work, but it can be done. We've seen it a number of times. So I hope that helps.
Okay.
If you have any tips besides the regular things that you just mentioned, or is there a stronger tip? Like, for example, Michael, you could have not wait for your wife to say, pay me attention. You could have kind of pay attention to that and say something without waiting for her to say something.
Yes, absolutely. You're so right. This is the thing that I want you guys to understand. If you are in a relationship with a human being, then they're not going to be great all the time. And most of the time I am very attentive. I feel she's feeling something. I say, Alex, what's the matter? What's up with you? Or she understands something. But sometimes, like this night that we spoke about, I was tired. And so when we get tired, or when we get hungry, or when we're sick, or when something goes bad at work and we're really stressed, then we're likely to not be at our best self. And it happens. Now, it shouldn't happen every day, all the time, It should be the you know, like sometimes it's not great, but most of the times it is. And in those moments, it's important for us to acknowledge that it's not that, you know, you could say, it's not that Michael Sean doesn't love me as much as he loves his phone. It's that he's tired and he has a pattern of looking at his phone when he's tired. I can either interrupt that pattern or not. And by doing this, we just give ourselves a little permission to have compassion for one another, to understand that we don't always do the best thing. And in fact, sometimes we don't do nice things at all. We get grumpy, we say something that's cross. But if we understand that at the heart of who my partner is somebody that loves me, then we can really pretty much work the rest of it out.
My brother has a wife that is very jealous and aggressive. They have been trying to get the partner or the couple together, but she refuses to get help. What kind of suggestions you have for this situation?
Somebody refuses to get help. They may not be willing to change or improve their portion of the relationship. I mean, Alex, what do you think? Don't both people have to show up?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's really important for her to really address where that jealousy comes from. You know, it's really something within her. Does she feel that she's not enough, or she's not pretty enough or worthy enough? And if she's not willing to look inside to see where that's coming from, and maybe she needs some help to uncover that, but it's really important that she wants to contribute to them having a good relationship. And so,
yeah, I have an idea. This is something you might think about and just consider for a moment. See, most of the time when somebody's not doing something we want them to do, I want her to go get help because she's too jealous. When that happens, then we tend to treat that person like they're doing something wrong. We say, sister-in-law, you're wrong because you won't go get help about your jealousy. And everybody knows how we behave when somebody tells us we're wrong, right? We go, no, I'm not. How dare you tell me that? That's not okay. We get all prickly about it. But maybe instead of doing that, you could go to her and ask her what if in her greatest dreams, her biggest dreams, what would her relationship look like if she could have it be anything? What would her life look like? Ask her if she could have anything healed in her that she would like to have healed so that she could be more loving and more capable of really receiving love. How would that be for her if that could happen? If somebody could just magically touch her and remove those things from her. If you can help her to imagine a better state and do that together, how great that would be. Then in the end of one of those conversations, you can often say, well, what are some of the steps you could take to finding that, to creating that? Now, you don't need to tell her you need to go to a therapist. You might wait for her to say, oh, I wonder if there's somebody who could help me or could give me some advice. And you can say, I bet there is. I bet there's somebody who's experienced exactly what you're experiencing. And you might be able to have the future you want. You might be able to have the relationship you want if you can get some help. See, we need to help people to transform by giving them an idea of why they might transform. We don't need to get people to change because we think they should change.
that's right.
If I think you should change, then it usually means that you're wrong and you're not good and you're bad. And then people like that, or people who get told they're like that, just get mad and they don't want to change at all. So you have to, as my grandfather said, you have to attract them with some honey, not some vinegar. So be sure and find a way to paint a sweet picture for her and see if you can begin to create a place for her where she begins to desire a different future and a different relationship with her husband. And then she might be able to move on to getting some help, not with jealousy, but getting some help, find ways to have her relationship be the relationship she would like to have it be.
Good advice.
Muy bien.
Okay, very well. Marta says, my partner and I have been hurt each other way too much. Right now, I want to fight for the relationship, but he doesn't.
Yeah, again, it's like the last question. It takes two. You both have to want the same thing. You have to both have want the same future. I might just suggest that you talk to him about the future. Maybe you talk to him about the future of what it would look like to no longer be together, and see how he takes that. And might talk about a future where you are together and actually really working together.
And I think one of the important things is to understand why is it not working now? Like, what is it that is out of balance? Is it your view, just how you're living, the things that you're choosing to do on a daily basis? Like, where did it start to be in balance that he might not be enjoying it as much as you are? Or like, what needs to, I think just to declare that it's over and not wanting to, what do you want to work towards? It's like, where do you need to go? Is it a new future you need to create together? And you can do that by really just having an open conversation and discussing all of that.
Yeah, it's so what Alex says is really brilliant, because maybe it's not that he doesn't want to work on the relationship. Maybe he just doesn't want to work. He doesn't want it to be hard. So if you think about our relationship's not going well, and I need you to go to therapy, or I need you to do X, Y, and Z, you're like, oh, I don't want to do that at all. It sounds like no fun. I don't want to fight for. I don't want to have to fight for our relationship. So what's an alternative? You say, hey, how about we just reinvent our relationship? Let's try something new. Let's do it differently. Let's move to another town. Let's go away for a week together and walk on the beach. Let's do something that's fun. What if we could play our way to a better relationship? What if we could dance our way to a new, better relationship, or sing our way to a better relationship? Why does it always have to be work and suffering to get a better relationship? So maybe the first thing we should do is look at how we can bring something positive, energetic, lively, passionate to the relationship, to grow the relationship, versus having to do the things that are hard and difficult and working on.
And I would say, with anyone that's been together for a long amount of time, that could be even, just a few years or 10 years, 20 years or 30 years, is your relationship is different from the day that you met.
Yes.
And though that excitement and those butterflies that you feel within those first few months might disappear, but it doesn't mean to say that the love's not there. It's just that you have to reignite it continuously and consciously. Like one of the things, when you have children, all your attention goes, between working and cooking and cleaning and being with the children, there sometimes isn't much time to be together. No. So what is the thing that usually gets left behind is the relationship. Yeah. And so you have to work at those things.
We have to play at them.
Well, you have to pay attention to them is what I really wanted to say. And one of the things that we did for a long time was date night, and date night didn't mean we had to go out and do something. We just created a fun evening. Sometimes we would light candles. It would start with poetry, and we did this appreciation practice where we would say, tell me 5 things that you appreciated about me this week or today, like something. And it could be so simple, but it's just actually taking a moment to be together. Right. And that really, really helped. And so I think that would be some important advice, is to see if you could kind of create that kind of intimacy together again.
Yeah, without it having to be hard.
Yeah.
Maybe just give up on it having to be hard work or doing work, and just say, how do we tap dance our way or tango dance our way into a better relationship? Maybe that's a good suggestion. Go get tango or salsa lessons and go dancing together. Start roller skating together. There's any number of things you can invent for your life that will have your relationship grow back together without it being hard. Now, like in the previous example, when somebody was having infidelity or there's a lack of trust, that's a different thing.
Yeah.
We're talking about a relationship that's fundamentally sound. It's just that there's some unhappiness or disharmony in the relationship, and you need to grow it back together versus growing apart. So those are some of our recommendations there.
Do you think we need to heal our wounds from our childhood before we can have a good relationship with another person? Do you think we need to heal our personal wounds before?
This is a really important question. I'm really glad you asked that. I think it depends on what kinds of wounds we're speaking about. If we have trauma, especially if we have any kind of sexual trauma, then it really makes it very difficult to have deep sexual and physical intimacy with a partner. And maybe you've had this experience, and you can only go so far if you have a deep trauma like this. And so in these cases where you're dealing with trauma, if you're in a relationship or you're not in a relationship, it's always a good time to find somebody who can help with this. There's some amazing neuro-based exercises now for traumas like this, EMDR, which is rapid eye movement therapy, and a thing called brain spotting. There's even some psychedelic assisted therapies right now that are helping with these trauma things. There's a lot of great work going on. So number one, if you have really deep trauma, especially sexual trauma, yes, I think that's something you're going to have to address before you can have a very, very rich and fulfilling relationship. Now, that doesn't mean you can't start in the relationship now. You just need a partner that's extraordinarily patient to do that, to deal with some of those big traumas. Now, if it's not trauma on those levels, and it's just that you have things from your childhood you need to deal with, then I don't think it has to happen first. But you're going to see times when you get activated, when you get angry or frustrated or sad, that aren't, how do I say this? That aren't appropriate to the situation. My partner says, that color doesn't look good on you, and I scream and shout and yell and start crying. That response is much, much bigger than the thing that the partner said. Mm-hmm. And so when you have these larger than life responses, that's very often coming from some kind of childhood experience or childhood trauma. That's not a deep wound, but it's a big deal for you. And so you have to begin to understand those and get some help to unwind what some of those things are, what some of those energies are. Now, your partner can be a big help in that. When I first met Alex, it was in my late 20s. I'd had a couple of really, really bad relationships before her. And I'd been to therapy for a couple of years and really tried to work through some of the stuff. And a part of that had to do some things about my childhood, some things about how I dealt with my emotions, how I processed some things I could and couldn't feel. But when we got together, I was sometimes a bit of an emotional mess. And when I would be somewhat of an emotional mess, Alex would say, I love you, and I'm going to be here for you. And one part of me didn't believe her, and the other part of me really wanted to believe her. But because she continued to give me a loving environment for a number of years, year by year by year, my emotional reactions got smaller and smaller and smaller. My fear got smaller and smaller and smaller. My fear, especially of abandonment, that she was going to keep loving me, those things started to disappear. So sometimes it's inside of the loving relationship that we actually heal these childhood wounds. The big problem is that many times that we have childhood wounds, we look for a partner who is going to recreate those wounds for us. I'll say this again. We find partners that hurt us the way we were hurt as kids, that repeat that pattern. Mm-hmm. If you happen to do that, then you are actually at the affect of that pattern. You're being impacted by that childhood pattern. And so there again, maybe you need to go back and get some help so you can begin to become attracted to people who aren't going to hurt you. That's one of those two notions. When you start to see the patterns happening over again, is like, oh, I have to have a pattern interrupt. Remember, we talked about that. I have to interrupt this pattern with something new. Alex did not repeat the patterns of the other relationships that I had. And therefore, it was a healing environment. And likewise, I was a person who was interested in spirituality and brought things to her life that her prior relationship could not provide. And we provided for each other a capacity to have great healing.
A few people have made kind of the same question. How to trust again? How to trust again? One person says, I got separated and I don't think I'm going to trust again like I did before with my ex-husband. Another person mentioned you have magazines like Grow magazine. How can I trust again when the person feels like something happened and affected the relationship?
Yeah, great question. Again, the start of that is, what do you want in your life? If you are okay not having a relationship, if you can be fulfilled on your own, if that's not something that's important to you, that you can not be in a relationship and not suffer of it at all, then you don't need to trust. But the question itself says that you want a relationship, that you want a deep relationship, that you want a trustworthy relationship. So you need to think about, what is that relationship look like? How does that function? How is it different than a relationship you've had before? What are some of the things, again, that you're attracted to in a man or a woman that lead to that repeatedly? And then what would the characteristics of somebody be like that wasn't as likely to hurt you? So that's the first thing. Imagine a new future. Imagine a place where you could be in a relationship with somebody healthily. The second part is that when we love and when we're intimate with other people, there is always a chance of being hurt. This is why it's special. See, if we don't risk something, if we don't open ourselves up to the possibility of being hurt, then we also can't have the sweet, sweet taste of true love, of pure love. I'll say that again. If you're not willing to be hurt, then you're not willing to be loved. You don't have that possibility. So it's okay. I'm going to say this. You may not believe it, but it's really okay if you love again and you get hurt again. It's okay. Now, the hurts doesn't feel good. I don't wish it on you. I don't want it to happen to you. But you have to, in order to actually really grow a relationship that's powerful, you have to be willing to be hurt, to be intimate enough and close enough to actually grow the kind of relationship we're talking about. It takes time. I had my heart broken 2 or 3 times before I met Alex. Really broken. I'm a poet and an emotional person. It was shattered all over the floor. But I wanted love. I wanted really, really deep love. So I kept looking and I kept trying to have that happen in my life. And so you have to be willing to commit to being possibly hurt. So when we were together and I was emotional, I'm like, I knew that if Alex cheated on me or left me or decided she liked somebody else, I would be devastated because I really, really, really deeply, passionately, crazy, wildly was in love with her. So I knew if she left me, it was going to be 10 times as bad as any other breakup I had ever had. But the truth is that it was also 10 times as good than any love that I had had. So be daring, be willing to be in love. And if it doesn't work out, then patch your heart up, get a therapist, get a friend, have some good cries, use a couple of boxes of tissues, and then go find another person to fall in love with. Because if you keep growing and you keep looking at what you want in your future, and you keep getting clear about who you are, what your values are, and you keep getting better and better at asking your potential partner about their values and what they care about, and you find out that you figure out if somebody's really the kind of person you want to fall in love with before you do. And then when you find one that you feel you want to fall in love with, you just go in head over heels for it. You dive in, you give of your heart, you give everything. If you keep doing that, you will eventually find a great relationship. But if you stay on the sidelines, in fear, not loving because you don't want to be hurt again, then you will always be in the same place. You will not grow. So growing requires risk. And risk delivers on 2 things. One is failure or reward. I'm wishing and praying for all of you to have the great reward of finding a partner like I have and having love in your life like we do. But you definitely have to go try and try again.
Beautiful.
It's a very important, how to stop the codependency and with your partner. I think it is an important question.
Oh, goodness. Now you guys are asking all the good questions. So codependency usually means you have one person that's got an addiction or something that's going on in their life that's not good. You've got a partner that is hurting. and has a behavior that that they're taking to try to stop from hurting, and it's only causing damage to themselves and to the people around them. The most common example of this is with drugs and alcohol. You've got a partner that's a great person a lot of the times, but on the weekend drinks, maybe becomes violent or becomes abusive in some ways, or maybe not towards you, but towards your kids or towards work or something like this. And this emotional content spills out all over the place. That person needs help. The trick is they don't need your help. They don't need you to help them to get to that crisis. And so if you're being codependent, it usually means that you're making it so they can continue to abuse alcohol and so drugs or whatever they're doing, this behavior that's not good. You're making it so that it's possible for them to continue. And there's only one way out of that, and that's to stop. You say, like Alex said to me, I love you. And you just put it that, I love you, and I love you so much, I'm going to let you fall down. People who have addictions in their lives, it's very challenging. It's very hard, and we should have a lot of heart and compassion for them. But we should also have strength of character to say, you have to help outside of our relationship, and here's 3 resources. Here's Alcoholics Anonymous, or here's a clinic that you can go to, or here's some resources, but I can't do it for you. So the way out of codependency is to actually love the person enough to allow them to get the help they need and stop trying to fix it yourself. Yeah. It's not your job. Tough question. If you're in this situation, we feel for you very much. There are lots of support groups. If you have alcohol abuse, there are support groups for the spouses of an alcoholic. Go join the support group. Get yourself a therapist. Maybe you have some kind of wound in yourself that has you repeat this pattern of being codependent. Grow yourself, become healthy. The more healthy you can become, the more you can give really, really meaningful support to your spouse who may be going through a tough drug and alcohol addiction or some other kind of addiction that's showing up negatively. And ultimately, you will have to learn to take care of yourself first, even if that means the relationship coming to an end. That's a tough thing to hear. But when you stay inside of the codependent relationship, you are just causing more damage for yourself and more damage for the person you're in. I know it's tough news. It's hard if you're the one that's enduring this thing. But the first thing you have to do, remember they say, when you got on the airplane, they say, put your mask on first before you help others. Well, in this case, you need to put your mask on first and go get yourself some help. Get yourself a coach or a therapist or a support group so that you can begin to heal the things in you so that you can stand strong and be a strong place for your partner who's struggling with something very, very large. Good luck with that. We pray for you that you're able to come through these things and have, and have the capacity. Like all these things are foundational. You have to have these things solved before you can do the kinds of techniques that we talked about to have a long and successful marriage.
Friends, we are at the end of the time.
Thank you so much, Alex, Michael. Great job. Wonderful conference. Wonderful tips. Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys. Really appreciate everybody's listening and love. We sensed all of you out there, almost 450 people in the audience listening. We wish you the best of luck in your love lives, in your career and money and everything you wish to create in the world. If you're on the Boldly You app, you can use some of the techniques in that app to work on things like relationships. And we're happy to help out anytime we can. Lots of love to you all.